Welcome to Saturday Baseball. I think we're live. I know I'm late, but that's okay. It's my day, Saturday Baseball. Nice to see you guys in the chat room. Mal Pal, whoopee, okay. And of course, Lenny, my best fan. Nice to see you, Leonard. I put up the Tout Wars points tally in the chat room. If you guys come on over to chat and hang out, we'll talk about the show as we go. We'll talk about some players to pick up today. It's really getting close to the end. What I was saying is that I posted the standings in Tout Wars. It's a points league. It's a head-to-head points league, and it is really a bitch this year for me, okay? Pardon my language, but luck was not on my side. Timing was not good for me. I have I'm going to come in second place in total points for the season, and I'm not going to make the playoffs because I had so many points scored against me that, I mean, I know it sounds like an excuse. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to say, well, it looks like I'm seventh in points. I'm not going to make the playoffs, but actually, if you look at the points for and points against, I am way up high at the top. It's just I had some really bad luck with timing this year, and what are you going to do? You just got to try again next year. But for now, this is the last week for me in this league because I won't make the playoffs. But of course, I have other leagues to be picking up players tomorrow and keeping an eye on things. And of course, Lenny and I will be on at 9 a.m. Doing our show. We'll talk about the tidbits, the nuggets, and do the box scores. So here's some nuggets for the day. Trey Turner joins the 2020 club. If you don't know what that is and you're a fantasy baseball player, then now you will know that it's 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases in the same season. It's not very often that it happens. Every year there's a couple hitters that are able to do it, but not very many. Trey Turner joins Tatis, of course, and Cedric Mullins. All three of these players have at least 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. That's awesome. Congratulations. It's actually Trey Turner's first time doing it, so it's quite the feat. It's amazing that it's only his first time doing that because think about it. You know, Trey Turner, you just assume automatically that that's what he does. I'm surprised he hasn't. I was surprised to see that he hadn't achieved this in his career so far. Hola, dude. The Royals. The Royals are the second team in Major League Baseball history to come back, okay, 4 runs. They're down 4 runs in the game, and they come back to win back-to-back games with the same player hitting a grand slam. That's Salvador Perez. Can he hit 3 grand slams 3 days in a row? Because that's never happened in all of Major League Baseball history. But he's working on it. If he does it today, we'll see. But it is interesting that this team, the Royals, they came back from more than 4-run deficit, 4 or more runs, 2 days in a row with a grand slam each time. That's Salvador Perez, okay? So Noah Syndergaard, I don't even care about Noah Syndergaard. Like, I could really care less about this guy because he annoys me with his attitude and it's like my whole theory, here's something to live by. If you're not pitching well for your team, then you don't have any right to be an ass. You just don't. If you're not pitching well, then you don't have the right to talk, to complain, to do anything. You just have to keep doing your thing until you're actually good, and then you can start talking shit. But until then, you should keep your mouth zipped. That's my theory on life. Just if you're not pitching well, and when was the last time Noah Syndergaard actually pitched in a game? It hasn't been recently, and when he does come back right now, he's been coming back for so long. Listen to this. He's going to make his second rehab appearance, okay, tomorrow. Guess how many pitches he's going to throw? No, he's going to pitch 1 inning. That's what's scheduled for him. 1 inning. So, Syndergaard, you don't need to be flapping your jaw, okay, until you're actually pitching in games. And when he does come back, he's only going to be a reliever. So maybe next year. How many times have we heard that for Syndergaard? Maybe next year. I mean, he looks like he's in great shape. If you look at the guy, he's super proud of his physique. Believe me. He knows that he looks good, but he needs to pitch good too, because looks aren't everything. All right, my friend. Anyway, the Yankees now have won 13 in a row. Go Yankees. This is their longest winning streak since 1961. And they actually tied in 1961 they had 13 games winning streak too. In 1960 they won 15 straight. So they're working on that. But right now they're tied for second in the franchise history. So they're actually 11-1 when Stanton and Judge are in the lineup. No, when they homer. They're 11-1 when both Stanton and Judge hit home runs. And the only time they lost when both of these guys hit home runs in a game was at the cornfields, at the Field of Dreams game. That was the only time. So they're 11-1 in those situations where both of these two hit home runs. I mean, it makes sense, right? You're scoring runs, you're hitting home runs, you're probably going to win. But anyway, that is a nugget. The fact is, though, that the Yankees have won 13 in a row, but they only have gained 3 games on the Rays because the Rays are winning too. The last 10 games, the Rays are 9-1. The Yankees are 10-0. The Red Sox, they're 5-5. So, yeah, we kind of knew this was going to happen, don't we? But the point is, Tampa Bay is hanging in there. You would think that the Yankees would be catching them. However, not really, because the Rays are winning too. Also, the same thing going on in the West with the National League. The Dodgers, the Giants, these two teams are still, last time I came and did Saturday baseball, last week, it was 2.5 games separation between the Dodgers and the Giants in the National League West, and that's still the case. The Giants are just hanging on by their chinny chin, dude, okay? They're just hanging on. But Garrett Cole pitched another great game yesterday, 200. He's the fastest pitcher, the fastest Yankees pitcher to 200 strikeouts in a season. It only took him 24 starts or 24 games. I assume they're all starts. But Garrett Cole breaking records. Good job, Garrett Cole. Atlanta, they've won 17 of their last 21 games, so they are just like heaping on the number of games difference between the Phillies and the Atlanta Braves is becoming wider and wider margin. It's now at 6 games, so the Phillies need 6 games to catch up to the Atlanta Braves, which isn't happening because Atlanta's just a better team. Atlanta made a couple of great trade additions. I can't remember if they were trades or signings or what, but they added a couple really key pieces. One of those pieces being Soler and Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson is getting it done. Yesterday, he had an excellent catch in right field. I think it was right field. It was right out where the bullpen is. And he caught this ball. I don't even know how he kept control of this thing because it was like half out of his glove and he fell down on the ground. And, you know, when you hit the ground, the ball falls out and all this. He had it clenched so tight that it was like holding on at the very tip of his glove. And it was just a great thing to watch. They're very pumped up right now, and I'd be very concerned if I were going to have to play them. That's for sure. I'd be way more scared of the Braves than the Brewers, okay, by far. And I would say I would be more afraid of the Braves than I would of the Giants. And that's not saying that much because I know the Giants aren't like this really intimidating team, but they're still, look, do they have the best record in baseball? Yes, they do. So that's it. That's all there is to it. They have the best record in baseball. What more is there to say? They're not that strong though between you and me. They're a little scary and it's like pins and needles just waiting for the Dodgers to catch up to them, but they have not done it, okay? So there you go. All right. The Giants though, they did snap their 5-game winning streak. They had a 5-game winning streak. Brandon Belt has been crazy good since he came back from his knee problem. I think he's hit like 8 home runs in the last 65 at-bats since he came back from injury. He's on bereavement right now, and I would be a little hesitant to put him in my roster coming up next week because we don't know when he's coming back from bereavement, and the Giants don't have a great schedule next week either. So there's that. But we'll talk about that in a second. More Nuggets. The White Sox, they were down 6-0 in the first inning yesterday against the Cubbies. I believe it was the Cubbies. They've they scored a whole bunch of runs in the second inning. I believe they scored 8 runs in the second inning. That was the second time that they've scored that many runs in an inning all season. they did it in May. They scored 8 runs in the first inning that day. But anyways, they're 17. They beat the Cubbies 17-13 yesterday. It was the first 9-inning game in the modern era in which a pitcher had a perfect outing of 5 or more innings. Reynaldo Lopez threw 5 perfect innings yesterday. Can you even imagine? That's absurd, okay? Absurd. Both teams scored more than 10 runs. Reynaldo Lopez is actually the first White Sox reliever to go 5 perfect innings since 1917. That's a long time. The Cubbies, they've lost 2 games this season that they led by 6 or more runs. They lost 2 games when they had the lead of 6 or more. This is why all of these unwritten rules about how you shouldn't steal bases when you're ahead, and like you shouldn't hit home run, like you shouldn't try to play as hard as possible to score as many runs as possible if you're far ahead because you don't want to make the other team look bad. Bull dinky. It's bull dinky. Don't ever think that. There is always chance for another team to come back, and before you know it, your lead is gone. Just like the Cubbies. They've lost 2 games this season by 6 or more runs. The last time they did that was in 2002. Yes, before Theo, before they got serious about winning a World Series, they had actually lost 3 games that year of 6 or more runs. Anyways, they're up to 2, so you never know. It could happen again before the season ends because their team is really, what's a polite word to say that they're horrible right now, that they barely have enough players to fill a starting lineup. That's the situation that they're in. Actually, like some of these, obviously this time of year where teams have made a lot of moves and given up players like the Cubbies, or they know they're not going to make the playoffs, like the Orioles or the Mariners probably accept it, even though the Mariners are totally clutch. We'll talk about that in a second. But these are opportunities for new fantasy relevant potential, right? So these teams, they don't have a problem playing their most inexperienced players. They're getting them ready for next year, and they're getting opportunity to play when, if they were fighting for a playoff spot, or if they were, maybe if they knew they were going to be in the playoffs, they would do the same thing to rest their players. But regardless, the teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, they know that, and they are now giving opportunity to other players that we're going to talk about today, some that are potential help down the stretch for fantasy roto leagues. Okay, Yasmani Grandal, yesterday, he hits 2 3-run homers. He gets 8 RBIs yesterday. I think he was just activated. He's let's see what it says. He's the first player to miss a month or more and then have 8 or more RBIs in his first game back. So yes, he was activated yesterday, and that was since RBI became a thing in 1920. Yasmani Grandal is the first catcher in Major League Baseball history to have 2 8 RBI games. That's it. He's the only catcher in history to have multiple games with 8 RBIs. That seems odd, right? Because we've had some great catchers. We've had some great hitting catchers Pudge, he hit good. And there's been quite a few pretty good catchers on really good teams. And that's really how you get the RBIs. Plus, you're down at the bottom of the lineup. So why wouldn't you get RBIs? I don't know. Maybe because you're down at the bottom of the lineup. Maybe. Anyway, so that would be Yasmani Grandal. He's doing that's great. He's got such weird stats. I don't know what to make of him. I will have to take a closer look as the season, as the season ends and I start to do the draft guide for next year. I'll be taking a really close look at Yasmani. He's got such interesting stats. Anyways, they activated him yesterday. They optioned Zach Collins, and in the same nugget, it says, "Don't worry, Zach Collins probably won't be down. In the minors long because September call-ups. But do not forget that September call-ups, what used to be a roster expansion from 26 to 40, is now a roster expansion from 26 to 28. You only get 2 players, okay? So the September call-ups is really a farce, and if you think about it, because you only get 2, so it's not like it used to be where they sent a whole bunch of players up and you could expand your roster 10 or 12 spots. No, these guys are going to have to go to Arizona Fall League and keep in shape while they wait for a call up potentially. I know that the minor league season ends before the major league season. I also know that sometimes they want to call up a guy who now their season is over in the minors, and they used to just put him on the 40. They would just bring him up because the expansion wouldn't count against time clock, service time, whatever. I'm pretty sure it's only 28, from 26 to 28. I'm almost positive of that, but I can't say that I'm 100%. So you might want to check it out yourself. Anyways, the Royals, we already talked about that. Let's move on. The Blue Jays, they picked up Gerard Dyson. He steals bases. He has great defense. That's what they're looking for, and that's why they picked him up. So do I suggest adding Gerard Dyson to your roster? Probably not, unless you're in an American League only and you need some stolen bases, because everybody needs stolen bases right now. This is a big time of year for stolen bases. This is a category that you can add significant points and move up the rankings significant right now. People are playing football. They do not care about baseball anymore. You only need a couple to gain a spot. Like every time you can gain a point in a category, it pushes you up the leaderboard. So focus on categories like stolen base. Saves are a big one right now. So I would say stolen bases and saves are the two that you can really utilize to move up in your league. Do not settle for whatever it is. Just know that this time of year, the last month of the season, is the most important time of the year and the easiest time of the season to move up in the ranks. So if you think that it's over, you should not quit. Even if you could move up one spot, it just makes it so much better for you to keep playing. It helps the integrity of the league, and you can take advantage of those suckers that are trying to figure out football when nobody cares. Football is not that hard to figure out. No offense, but it's just not. It would only take a day to figure out football, and you should still be finishing up baseball. That's always going to be my opinion, no matter what. So, okay. Gerard Dyson, Toronto Blue Jays. It's a great team. I wish that they would have had George Springer back any amount sooner. And I think that we would be seeing a lot different situation in the American League East with Toronto Blue Jays. They would be at the top. I think they would be with Tampa Bay. They would be right up there. There's no question. George Springer is a huge loss for this team this year, but they still have they still were able to hold their own for the most part. I mean, they lost George Springer again. So I've given up hope that they're going to win the American League East. This is the first time I've actually accepted defeat there. But next year is a new season with a great team. And if you keep George Springer healthy, it is a deal breaker. This guy, he's a deal breaker. So whatever it is, they don't stand a chance at this point, probably, but still next year. So the Astros signed Marwin Gonzalez. Oh, my mom is calling. Hi, Mom. I'm on the air.
Okay, call me back when you're done. I got a phone issue.
A phone issue? Okay, will do.
Thanks.
Love
bye.
you. Bye. My mother needs help with her phone. Okay. That's so cute. All right. I love helping my mother with her phone. Okay, so the Astros signed Marwin Gonzalez to a minor league contract. He actually spent a lot of time with the Astros. He spent the first 7 years of his career with the Astros, but then, he went to the Red Sox. Anyways, it's a minor league deal, so hold back on that, but I just wanted to let you know. Asdrubal Cabrera was picked up by the Reds. The Oakland Athletics, they have 160 home runs on the season. 114 of those were solo home runs. That's 71% of home runs solo. What a disappointment. But they're not the only team. The record for the highest percentage of solo home runs, okay, it goes back to, let's see, 1950. There was a team with 72% of their homers being only solo home runs. That was in the Expos in 1950. But this year, right now, the Orioles are at 71.7. So they're like less than a percentage away from breaking the record all time for the most solo home runs as like the most percentage, right? Anyways, 71% for the Oakland Athletics, 71%, okay, solo home runs. Orioles, 71.7% solo home runs. They can't win a game. I wonder why. Anyways, the Orioles are in sad shape right now, but they have a lot to look forward to that's positive. Albert Pujols, he has more postseason intentional walks than 10 current franchises. Albert Pujols. He totally deserves some respect, okay? He has more postseason intentional walks. They've walked him more times in the postseason than 10 different current teams. Those include the Rangers, the Nationals, the Diamondbacks, the Blue Jays, the Brewers, the Mariners, the White Sox, the Padres, the Rays, and the Rockies. So I don't know if he's that scary anymore. He's not going to, is he going to, yes, he'll make the playoffs. He'll definitely make the playoffs now that he got kicked off of his old loser team and he's on a real winner team now. Good for him. He got kicked off the loser team and now he's with a great winning team. So he deserves it. Teams with more base hits than strikeouts this season. Okay. Astros, of course, the Astros, they're always on it. The Blue Jays, they have more hits than strikeouts. The Nationals, the Red Sox, the Royals, and the Rockies. I can't believe the Rockies, but it's really only by one, so it doesn't really count. The Rockies have 1,056 hits, and they've struck out 1,055 times. It doesn't count. Okay. The Royals is a surprising one, too. They have 1,030 hits and 1,012 strikeouts, so it's pretty close. But none of these are that far off, really. They're very close, and they could all change by the end of the season. We could be seeing a whole different list of teams right now, but for the moment, that's what you get. Kyle Schwarber, he's got a 571 on base percentage. It's the highest by a player over the first 10 games being on the Red Sox in franchise history. So he's been on base 24 times, and that's tied for the second most through a player's first 10 games as a Red Sox since 1901. So Kyle Schwarber getting it done. They made a very risky move adding him when he was injured and on the injured list, like totally out of service, and they added him anyways. And so he is paying off for the Red Sox. But bottom line, the Red Sox are going nowhere right now this year. I'm sorry, they're just not. That's the truth of the matter. The Mariners aren't going anywhere either, but let me tell you about the Mariners and their clutchness. Is that a word, clutchness? Their clutchness. Fangraphs clutch metric, okay? It measures how much better or worse a player does in high leverage situations than he would have done in a context neutral environment. So the Mariners are on pace to be the most clutch team in baseball since 1974 when they started tracking clutchness. They started tracking clutch. The Mariners, they're on track to be the best this season since 1974 when they started counting it. It's crazy. So, and also I was surprised to learn the other day, if you missed Lenny's podcast, it's on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. He said, who has the most home runs since the All-Star break in the American League? And so, of course, the first thing we do is start answering with Votto and National League players. And he says, no, the American League. And so we think, okay, it's probably Vladdy Jr. And we go on the list, right? It's freaking Kyle Seager. Yes, it's Kyle Seager, Seattle Mariner, third baseman. Lou Landers, if you're watching Lewis, he used to call Kyle Seager vanilla or like boring, just mediocre player. Because I would say you should get Kyle Seager. He's like a super deal. But Lewis didn't like him, and I just remember laughing about that because he he's vanilla. I think he called him vanilla or something like that. Basically, replacement level player. And he kind of has been for the most part. His career hasn't been anything exciting. Although he does have the most home runs for the second half of the season. There's that. Okay, the week coming up, you have Aristides Aquino, whatever it is. He hasn't been able to get a lot of playing time. He's a Cincinnati Red. He hasn't had the opportunity very much. He's 27 years old. He hasn't had a lot of major league experience. And here's the thing about him. So the Reds hitters are pretty good off next week. Hold on a second. I got to go back to the probable. I got to look at the schedule real quick because I'm confused. So he's on Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Reds play at home against St. Louis 3 games, and then they get Detroit coming into town for another 3 games. So they have great matchups, okay? And they're facing a lot of lefties. The Reds are facing lefties, 4 lefties out of 6 games. Aquino is really good as hitting lefties, and he could really start all of the games because Winker is not healthy, and I do see next week being a good time to add a guy like this. They're all home games and 4 lefties, so he's good against lefties. He has a great batting average he has a good batting average in general, but he's definitely good against lefties. Kyle Farmer is another one that usually hits lefties well, I think. Look at the hitters. If you see on waivers, there's some teams that have several, multiple players that would be available. There's some teams that have nobody that would be available on waivers. So I try to take a look at teams that actually have players available and then just kind of go from there. But the Cardinals, they do not have a good schedule next week at all. They have a very tough schedule for the hitters. I think that Dylan Carlson, even though he's hitting like 300 this month, he's hitting a good average, but he's not hitting the ball hard at all. His exit velocity is not good, and so yes, his average is okay, but if you have a choice, you could maybe bench Dylan Carlson next week. And I would have said Tommy Edman could be a no-go if you have someone else to fill in whatever position he's playing. But he did great yesterday, and I would say that I've changed my mind on that. I say to start Edman. As long as he continues to hit, he will remain near the top, if not at the top of the lineup, and that's great. But when he loses his leadoff spot, okay, because he's not hitting good, it really hurts his value. Yesterday, if you would have picked him in daily, you would have been super happy and maybe won your tournament. I'm just saying. So the Cincinnati Reds do have the great matchups, the best matchups for the hitters. San Francisco has horrible matchups. We talked about that for a minute. We talked about Brandon Belt and how you should be a little weary about starting him, even though he's been on fire since he came back from the injured list, hitting like 8 home runs. Nobody would blame you if you wanted to keep him in your lineup. However, the San Francisco Giants get to face, Milwaukee 4 games, and that includes guys like Corbin Burns and who's their other really good pitcher starter. Anyways, their 2 best starters, they have to face them. Then the Dodgers come to town. That's never good. 5 lefty pitchers total they face. The hitters, all the games are at home. So think about that. It's not great for hitting reasons. It's just not a good ballpark for hitters, although it's a decent ballpark for pitchers. Their pitchers are not doing as good as they were to start the season. They got guys like freaking Johnny Cueto and stuff, I mean, Johnny Cueto is I wouldn't say he's fantasy relevant with all of the potential streamers that we have available this week, and we'll get to those in a minute. The point being, they face a lot of lefties. If you have San Francisco hitters active on your roster, you should check to see how they hit against lefties and how do they hit at home, because they're at home all 7 games and 4 or 5 lefties. Belt, second guess it because we don't know when he's coming back. If he comes back tomorrow, that'd be great. He'll play in all the games. We don't know how long he'll be out for that. Okay. Houston goes to Seattle, And then they go to San Diego. So they will not have the DH in San Diego the last 3 games of their series this weekend, this coming next weekend. Jordan Alvarez is obviously you would never think like I'm going to bench Jordan Alvarez. You just don't. He's one of those players that you typically just leave inactive. But here's the problem. He's only been in the lineup 3 times when the Astros play at National League ballparks because of the fact that there's no DH. Even though he does play the outfield, I'm sure he qualifies as an outfielder by now. But they might give him a rest or whatever. He's not usually in the lineup when they're playing at National League Park. So there is no DH. So there is one less spot in the lineup for the hitters. And, if he's out those 3 games, is that reason enough to leave him on your bench? I don't know, because it could be. He could totally make up for that in like 2 games. But anyway, I'm just telling you, he gets benched in no DH parks. The Rangers, they have great matchups for pitchers. Like, do you even know the starting rotation of the Rangers? I bet that whoever is watching this right now cannot name the starting rotation for the Rangers. I really believe that. I couldn't name it. I couldn't even come close to naming it. I would guess guys like, I would say somebody like J.A. Happ or something. I'm just kidding. I don't even know. But I do know these ones. Listen to this. Glenn Otto. He should be looked at, even though his start next week is facing the Houston Astros. The Texas Rangers face the Astros. Here's the problem. I do not like facing the Astros for a young new pitcher. I don't like it, but I have to mention him because he should be swiped up. And, if you still have weeks to play, you might want to just grab this guy. He's owned in like 1% of leagues right now. Anyways, Glenn Otto, starting pitcher for the Texas Rangers, does have to face Houston Otabel next week. But this season, between AA and AAA, 16 games started. He has 134 strikeouts in 95 and 2/3 innings. He only allowed 73 hits in 95 innings, and he had a 3.20 ERA and a 101 whip. So since he's been in the majors, which was only just one start, I think it was yesterday, started yesterday, made his debut August 27th. That was yesterday, I think. Anyways, he threw 5 innings. We love to see that from a youngster. 5 innings, no earned runs, no nothing. Did strike out 7 in 5 innings and walked 0. He has a 0 ERA so far. And this was against Houston, okay? This is not just some flimsy team like Pittsburgh we're talking about here. He faced Houston yesterday. He scored 36 FanDuel points. He struck out 7, 2 hits allowed in 5 innings. This is a type of pitcher that you would want to grab because the ceiling is pretty high, okay? He did good in the minors, good in the majors. I have to recommend him even if he's a Texas Rangers and he's facing Houston Astros. Still, he faced them last night and he crushed them. Maybe that means they figured him out. That happens, Sometimes a pitcher is great the first time he faces a team, and a team like Houston is a little bit concerning. There's other pitchers, if you're not that comfortable, grabbing Glenn Otto on the Texas Rangers. I get it. Dane Dunning is another pitcher that you could consider streaming next week. He allowed last outing, he didn't have a great outing. He allowed 2 home runs against Cleveland. But those 2 home runs, I heard in a podcast and read in an article that those 2 home runs that he allowed, they only had a 50% chance of even becoming a hit. So they were a little lucky, if you ask me. That's what that's trying to say. So they were unlucky home runs. He did allow some home runs, but Dane Dunning, he could be one to look at. They're facing, the Rangers get to face Colorado. It says versus Colorado and at LA, but that doesn't make sense because this guy Otto, hold on, let me just double check, see what's going on. I'm saying something wrong. Seattle and San Diego. The Houston Astros face Seattle and San Diego. The Rangers, let's see who they face. Sorry, sometimes I get confused, but I'm going to give you the right information for sure. Texas. They're going to face Colorado at home, and then they're going to go to LA. So I wrote that down right. Maybe Otto. No, I know Otto doesn't face Houston, but he did face Houston last night. Now he's going to face Colorado. You know, Colorado can't win away from home, even if they go to Texas Rangers, which is a ridiculous. They're just not a good team, and they're not a great ballpark. So to face the Colorado Rockies when they're away from home is a wonderful godsend. There's only a couple teams I'd rather face, okay, than those guys. Colorado, that's going to be on Wednesday. Dane Dunning pitches on Sunday. None of these guys get 2 starts. You have several really new pitchers that, I looked at Taylor Hearn earlier and I didn't like it. Kobe Allard is not great. He's got almost a 5 ERA. But definitely, dude, Otto is worth taking a shot on for streaming purposes and maybe keeping him. Moving on. Let's talk about some hitters. We could pick up hitters. Patrick Wisdom is one of them. There's a couple that I'm just going to go through real quick because they're probably not available, but if they are, you should grab them. Anyway, Patrick Wisdom, he's a Cubby. He qualifies at first, third, and outfield. So that's very useful. He bats right in the middle of the lineup right now. Yesterday, he went 2 for 4 with 2 home runs. He walked, and he got 4 RBIs and 3 runs scored. So it was his 30th birthday yesterday, and he's actually hit home runs 5 games out of the last 7. So 5 times in the last 7 games, he's hit home runs, and he has 3 stolen bases through, let's see what he has for the whole season. He's got 23 homers, 48 RBIs, 44 runs scored, and 3 stolen bases through 270 plate appearances on the season. And he's just having a good season, really. The fact that he qualifies at multiple positions is really helpful, and it adds to his value, in my opinion. Nikki Lopez is a guy I talked about last week, and I talked to Daniel about Nikki Lopez, and of course, stolen bases are an absolute must-look category. You need to look at your situation in stolen bases. If you're 25 stolen bases behind the next guy, then you're not going to be able to catch up in stolen bases. You might be able to lose points, though, so you got to pay attention to that, too. However, if you are 3 stolen bases behind the guy in front of you, and he's a 1 stolen base behind the guy in front of him, and that guy's 2 stolen bases, this is a total of 5 or 6 stolen bases will get you 3 points in fantasy, and it really makes a difference. Just a point here and a point there could get you in a better situation than you are now. Okay. Nikki Lopez has finally been stealing a lot of bases. I think he's got 8 stolen bases in the last couple weeks. Plus, he's batting 300, which we did not see him do for a long time. He's owned, and I think he's available in 60% of leagues still. So what are you doing? Here's a guy, Emmanuel Rivera, third baseman for Kansas City. He so down in the minor leagues this year, Emmanuel Rivera, 216 plate appearances, 15 home runs, 43 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases with a 284 batting average. So that's between AA and AAA in 2021 this year. Now, he's been in the majors for 8 games. He's hit 1 home run, 3 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and a 310 batting average. He bats at the bottom of the order, but he's been in the starting lineup the last 7 straight games. So, and he's only been up for 8 games. So that's the thing. He's going to get playing time. Kansas City is in the mood to put him in the lineup. Okay. Yes, he hits at the bottom of the lineup, but if he continues to hit well, he will move up just like everybody else does. So he's not, he hit 15 homers in the minors, and he hit 1 so far since he's been up, but it's only been 8 games. So he does have power. And the thing is, I don't think he stole a lot of bases. So this idea that he's going to steal a bunch of bases, he only stole 2 bases in the minors all season. Now, since he's been in the majors, he stole 2 bases, but don't get too comfortable with it. I think he's more of a power guy than a stolen base guy is all I'm saying. Anyway, he's in the lineup every day. Another guy that's in the lineup every day right now is Jake Myers in Houston. he's made it into the starting lineup all 7 of the last 7 games, and he also bats at the bottom of the order, so take that for what it is. But between August 14th and now, the last 13 games, he has 3 home runs, 14 RBIs, 8 runs scored, and a .333 batting average. So Jake Meyers is getting it done in Houston. Let's see what else we have. I put his advanced stats in here for some reason. He hardly ever walks, I'll tell you that, and he strikes out a ton. But he's been in the lineup every day. So and he's got 3 home runs in the last 13 games. That's pretty good. That's all I want to say for him. Brandon Marsh, I found him. I'm the one that found him for sure. I liked him in Arizona Fall League. I saw him stealing bases. He's aggressive, so aggressive on the base paths. I don't know if he's doing that now. He gets caught stealing quite a bit in the major leagues, I think. And so I don't think he's trying as hard, but he's absolutely starting to get comfortable with being in the majors, I think. And he just took him a little while to get acclimated for sure. The last 13 games, Brandon Marsh is hitting .404 with 11 RBIs, 1 home run, and a stolen base, but he's also been caught stealing once. I'm just saying, when I found him, the reason that I found him was because he always stole like any chance he could, he would steal bases. And I really liked it. He was just really aggressive, comfortable, and aggressive. Anyways, in the minors this year, he only played 28 games because he was hurt a lot of the time, and he had only 108 at bats, but he did hit 4 home runs, 15 RBIs, not great, 2 stolen bases, and a .287 batting average. So if he can even come close to the numbers that he put up in the minors, then we're looking at a decent fantasy guy here. But for now, he's been hitting well. I think the potential is there. His team is not going anywhere, so I don't know. I would not rely on him he's only 23 too. So next year, I shouldn't even say what I was about to say, because at 23, the possibility of stolen bases is high. It's high, and it will remain high until his 27th or 8th birthday at least. And then you got to say to yourself, like, I probably shouldn't expect all these stolen bases coming up here, because this is something that dies with a huge drop off it's like they call it acute drop off, when it all drops off at the same time. Anyway, Ian Happ. For those of you who love Ian Happ and you hate it, you probably dislike him a lot right now. But those of you who believed in Ian Happ entering 2021, it's time to maybe give him a chance right now, because he is hitting. Yesterday, he went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer, an RBI double, and 3 RBIs yesterday. So on the season, he's only batting .201 with 16 homers and 41 RBIs in 117 games. And he has been a disappointment, to say the least. But he's hit home runs in back-to-back games, and maybe because there's absolutely no pressure on this team, he is going to maybe get it together. I don't know, but we know he has the ability to hit well. We just haven't seen it yet. So in the month of August, Ian Happ has 6 home runs and 15 RBIs, okay, with 1 stolen base and a .268 batting average. So he's hitting well this month. Bobby Dalbec, Boston Red Sox. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know, Ian Happ plays second base and third base, as well as outfield. But he's only played third base twice, so I don't think he qualifies there. But just to let you know, he's versatile. Anyway, Bobby Dalbec, first base, third base. The last 7 days, he's batting .462. That's a lie, but that's true right now. It's not going to last, but he's got 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. In the last 2 weeks, he's got 4 home runs. He's hitting. He's like the only one in the Red Sox that's doing that, but regardless, in the month of August, Bobby Dalbec has 5 homers, 19 RBIs, a .346 batting average, and probably an ungodly BABIP. And I can't imagine that this is going to continue like this. But regardless, that's what it is. He's hitting really good the month of August. So if he's still available and you need some pop, there's your guy. One of your guys. Okay, Connor Joe is another. I always feel like I'm saying his name backwards. Like I want to call him Joe Connor, because that's the way it works. This guy's name is Connor Joe, so I always question it when I see it. Anyway, the last this is a guy in Colorado. Okay, are they going to be home next week? I believe they're on the road again. On the road again. Da da da. Anyway, he's got 6 home runs in the past since August 1st. The month of August, he's got 6 homers, 19 RBIs, a 307 batting average. And it sounds just like Bobby Dalbec, really, if you think about it. Okay, so that's what he's doing. He's hitting the ball. Connor Joe. First base, he's played first base 7 times, and he plays also in the outfield. I believe he plays all 3, but I'm not positive of this. My boy Dalton Varsho, who I bring up because he qualifies at catcher, and everybody, we can always use a catcher here and there. Dalton Varsho does qualify at catcher. He actually plays all 3 outfield spots, including catch, also on top of catcher. So just in the last week, I think he's played all 3 outfield spots and catcher. So he's been in the lineup every day. That's why I bring him up. And he doesn't bat all the way at the bottom. He still does bat 6th or 7th, and he's streaky. He really is streaky. He hasn't figured it all out yet. But if you need somebody that qualifies as a catcher, by all means. He's got 4 home runs and 9 RBIs in the month of August in 20 games. Then we have Otabel Herrera. By the way, when I was putting my list together of players to pick up, I'm a big fan of Otabel, and I will always put him in when I see what that he's doing good. He's got 3 home runs in the last couple of weeks. However, I have to give you this warning, okay? This is a disclaimer with him. Philly plays all their games at home next week. They have 6 games. All of them are at home. They have to face Tampa Bay, and then they get to face Arizona, okay? The problem is he's hit 1 home run at home all year. He's hit 11 on the season, but only one of them has been when he's at home. So that says something. Plus, his batting average is way worse at home. He bats .228 at home versus like .275 or 80 away. Otabel is not good at home. That's the sad truth. But so that's why I have to give you this warning on him rather than an idea to pick him up. Just don't do it. Another guy, Brian De La Cruz, Miami, plays all 3 outfield spots. He's not flashy. He doesn't hit a lot of home runs, but he gets on base all the time. So in the last 10 games, he's been on base 9 times out of 10. So he does get on base. He's batting .438. And in the minors this year, AAA, this guy De La Cruz, 12 home runs in 66 games with a .324 batting average. Also stole, I thought it said 8. It says 2. Stole 2 bases and got caught stealing 4 times. Don't expect stolen bases from this guy, but he does hit some home runs. He hits for power. He's getting on base. He's in Miami where they're going to give opportunity to these guys, and he's 24 years old. So, this is the first time that he's been in the major leagues. Moving on, we have Nick Solak, who, I'm only going to say a very minor thing about him. He does have power, and he does hit for average for the most part. He's having a horrific season. I don't know exactly what he's doing on the whole season, but I know it's been pretty disappointing, okay, as a fantasy manager. But lately, in the month of, not just the month, but the last 5 games, he is batting .381. Nick Solek is back. Actually, I only have 5 games on here because he was on the injured list. And so he recently came back, and he's gone 6 for 18. He's 26. You know what he does. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on him. He was in the minor leagues for a month because of how bad he was. So it wasn't even the injured list. He was actually demoted. So anyway, he's going to hit, I think. He should hit. Okay. Anyway, a couple pitchers that are probably not available. If they are, you're not listening to this show because they would have been snatched up weeks ago if you were. McKenzie and Kyle Freeland. I know it's ridiculous to say Kyle Freeland, but he's been excellent since like early June. He's been really good. Check him out. The fact that he's even available would be very surprising to me, but I felt like I couldn't leave him off the list just in case. Here's a guy to consider streaming. So now we're going to talk about some streaming pitchers. Let me check in with the chat room. Malpal, I'm going to call you Whiff, okay? You're going to be Whiff. Wait. Is that Whiff? Whiff is a Padre. It's Whiff Myers. And this guy's name is Myers. What a coincidence, okay? Anyways, Malpal says he had a chance to get Myers in his AL only, and he didn't. That was a huge whiff. Whiff Myers. That's an inside joke. Nice to see you, Robert, Daniel, Stardog, Leonard. Thanks for hanging out with me. Now we're going to do pitching, and we're going to be done. Tyler Gilbert, Arizona, starting pitcher, gets to face the Padres. I never thought I would be saying it like that this year. I never thought I would be saying, like, they get to face the Padres. Well, the Padres are falling apart, okay, by the day. So that's what it is. But Tyler Gilbert, he gets to face the Padres, but it is Yu Darvish, I think, maybe. I thought I wrote the person that has to face Yu Darvish. Anyways, check it out. He also gets to face Seattle. He's an Arizona pitcher. Both of these 2 starts are at home. His last 3 outings have been really pretty good because before that, he wasn't a starter. They stretched him out. He pitched 9 innings on August 14th. He pitched 5 innings on August 20th. And then his last outing was 5 innings. And so for those last 3 outings, it's 19 innings. He's allowed 12 hits, struck out 11. He has a 2.84 ERA and a 1 WHIP. Tyler Gilbert could be somebody to consider. I wonder if his brother is the other Gilbert. Gilbert. Arizona, both Arizona. You never know. Gilbert. I don't know. Okay, moving on. He doesn't strike out a ton of batters. You know, he's pretty much mediocre, but he does get to face Seattle at home, and that's a good thing. And he does get 2 starts this week. Also, he pitches way better at home than he does on the road. Now, we don't have a huge sample size here. The only sample we do have enough sample size to know how he pitches a home and away, though, because even though it's only been like an inning here, an inning there, he was a bullpen guy before he got promoted to the rotation. So he has been pitching, and we know that he's got almost, you know, he's got a 0 ERA at home. He hasn't allowed any runs. That's what I'm trying to say. He hasn't allowed any runs at home. That's it. 0 runs at home. Still doesn't strike out a lot of batters. Bailey Ober, Minnesota Twins, facing Detroit and Tampa Bay. Obviously, Tampa Bay is a little bit more of a problem. And Bailey Ober is going to be a popular pickup this week. I'm sure of it. He's got 2 starts. And one thing to be aware of, though, is that he has a left on base percentage, a strand rate of 88%. So runners are getting stranded a lot, probably more than they should be. And so it's really helping his ERA. And in the last 4 starts from August 6th till current, he's thrown at least 5 innings in each of those starts. He's got a 2.11 ERA total, a 1.17 WHIP, 3 home runs allowed, 22 hits allowed in 21 1/3 innings. He also struck out 21. So he's holding his own in the major leagues. His ERA is better away, but not by that much. And it looks like, okay, Bailey Ober, the Tigers. So he's much better against left. Let me look. No, he's better against righties. So the problem is he's got a batting average against for lefties. Lefties hit 296 off of him. They hit the righties, they hit 221 off of him. So the problem is the Tigers have 3 switch hitters and 2 lefties. So 5 out of their 9 are going to be lefties. He's not great against lefties. The lefties hit almost 300 off of this guy. And the Rays also have quite a few lefties, 4 lefties and a switch hitter. So you know all these switch hitters are going to be switched over to the left side that day. And I would be hesitant. Like I said, this is going to be a really popular guy to grab this week. People are going to, if they have money left, they're going to be spending it on a guy like this because he's got 2 starts. They're against, they're both at home, blah, blah, blah. The problem is lefties crush him, and he faces a whole bunch of them this coming week. So that's just something to keep in mind. Corey Kluber comes back. The Yankees are going to activate him on, I believe, on Monday, he's going to have 2 starts. He's scheduled to face the Angels and the Baltimore Orioles, which is 2 great matchups, right? But the management there, what's the dude's name? What's that guy's name? Anyway, the manager of the Yankees, Softy. I could call him Softy. The guy that has no cojones. Anyway, he already says out loud that Haney is likely to be the piggyback starter to come up behind Kluber because they just don't expect to leave him in any significant amount of pitches or innings. But I have to say, the last time Kluber had a rehab start or whatever, he went out and threw the ball. He threw 60 pitches. If he can throw 60 pitches, Kluber could get through quite a few innings if he could throw 60 pitches, which he did on Tuesday. So anyway, expect Haney to be relieving Kluber should he get into a situation where he has too many pitches or too many innings. He will not be deep into games. Okay, the last he has to face Jose Quintana and Ellis, which I don't even know who that is, to be honest with you. But when he was doing his rehab starts down in the minors, he only threw 1 inning and then he threw 3 innings. So that 3 innings took him 60 pitches to get through that. Just expect him not to go deep. He won't get enough innings to get you a win. So if you're looking for a win, you should probably grab Haney if you think that the Yankees are going to win and keep winning, because they're doing that right now. So Haney is much more likely to grab a win than Kluber if that's what you're looking for. Otherwise, I would say Haney what's there to say about Kluber? We haven't hardly seen him pitch in the last 3 seasons, but Haney gives up a lot of home runs. However, I think that his ERA is kind of bloated right now. I think that he's a relatively good pitcher. The bottom line, if you're looking for wins, Kluber is not your guy. Haney is much better chance than that. Taylor Widener, Arizona. There's a couple Arizona guys on this list. He's the guy that has to face freaking Yu Darvish, which is a sad thing. But Taylor Widener, since August 7th, the last 4 outings for Taylor Widener, 20 innings, right? He's gone 5 innings each of those last 4 starts. He's given up 4 home runs. Not great, but okay. Here's the thing. He's got a 2.70 ERA and a 1.25 whip, 21 strikeouts in 20 innings, and only 12 hits allowed. That is a huge thing. That's a green flag for me. I say, you threw 20 innings and you only allowed 12 hits. Whoop-de-doo. You're my man for sure going into next week. He does face Darvish. Don't like that, but he's worth grabbing for sure. He's already faced San Diego a couple times this season. Back on April 4th, he threw 6 innings against the Padres, and that's when they were really good. 0 earned runs and 7 strikeouts against the Padres on April 4th when they were really good. He also faced the Padres again this month, August 7th. He threw 5 innings and struck out 7. So the guy does do well against the Padres, and I would say go for it. I like it. Even against Darvish, I still like it. Drew Rasmussen, Tampa Bay goes against Boston at home and then faces Minnesota. This guy I only bring up because you should keep an eye on him. He's really brand new, very inexperienced. He threw 5 innings on August 24th. It's the first time in his career that he's thrown 5 innings. That's why I put him on the list. First of all, he's got a 3 from July 11th through August 24th, which is the last 4-5 appearances. He struck out 23 in 28 innings pitched with a 1.91 ERA and a 9.9 whip. 0.99 whip for this guy, Drew Rasmussen. Through 5 innings. So in his first 3 starts with the Rays, he allowed only 2 runs in 13 innings, but he's not striking out a lot. 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings and no wins. That's why nobody's paying attention to him, because he didn't get any wins and it's just not flashy. But he's not allowed more than 1 earned run in any outing since early July, and he is pretty good at keeping runners off the base paths. I'll say that. What's he going to do this year? I don't know. Tampa is like the most unreliable team for fantasy owners, and you really don't want to risk relying on any kind of Tampa Bay pitcher or hitter for that matter. Even though they're a good team, you just never know who's playing where. Logan Allen, Cleveland. I love Cleveland pitchers. I've told you this so many times. Well, we have Logan Allen, who did pitch yesterday, 6 innings against Boston, 1 earned run, struck out 5. I was liking this guy going into the season. I saw him in spring training. I thought he was going to be very good. He got hurt, all this, didn't do well. Did well, but then it fell apart for him. He's pitched just an inning here and an inning there, like a couple multi-inning relief appearances. Now he's back in the rotation, 6 innings yesterday against Boston. And you know I love the number of innings that you're going to get from a Cleveland starting pitcher. If he stays in the rotation, he will consistently stay out there for 6 innings, and that's what you can rely on for sure with this guy. And his ERA is not good, so don't look at it. But he looked good yesterday. I think he's worth giving a chance to. I will take him just for innings purposes. If I'm in a points league, I will put him on. I will activate him. Although, first of all, I'm not making the playoffs. I told you that, but I would like to reiterate, I'm not going to make the playoffs, but I will come in second in points, and that makes me proud. So what are you going to do? Anyways, putting Logan Allen in your lineup right now is risky. If you're in the playoffs, you do make the playoffs, and you are relying on this guy to help you get through to next week, I would definitely not do it. You cannot rely on a guy like Logan Allen to help you make the playoffs. Keep staying in the playoffs. But if you're in Roto and you, for whatever reason, basically what I'm trying to say, it depends on the league that you're in. Follow the rules, be smart, whatever. Carlos Hernandez, Kansas City. All right. Yesterday, they were facing the Mariners. The Kansas City Royals against the Mariners. This guy comes in and throws 5 2/3 innings right after Chris Bubik can't barely make it through 4 innings. Okay. So this guy, Carlos Hernandez, was scheduled to start today. We were expecting him to start today, but he had to come in and save the day yesterday. He had 1 run, but it was unearned yesterday. Okay. Only allowed 1 hit, and he did not walk anybody in 5 2/3 against the Mariners. He struck out 6. You got to love it. Guaranteed. So this guy should get more opportunities in the rotation from here on out through the rest of the season. It did take him 80 pitches to get through 5 2/3, but he made it in there longer than freaking Bubik made it in there. Okay. So anyways, he's only surrendered one earned run, and he struck out 14 over the last 12 2/3 innings. He is almost guaranteed to be part of the rotation going forward. Keep an eye for him. He could be good. Dylan Floro is probably the closer in Miami. They don't win a ton of games. None of these guys that I'm going to mention for closers win a lot of games. So that's that. The ones that do, they're already snatched up. But I'm just going to tell you in case you didn't know. Dylan Floro, 4 saves in August, 6 saves in 10 opportunities on the season. So he's got a 2.88 ERA, and he struck out 46 and he walked 20. That's not great. 50 innings. Anyways, 4 of the saves, 4 out of 6 are in the month of August. So there's that. He's getting the save opportunities that come when they do. And another guy that's not going to get a lot of opportunities to save games is Tyler Clifford. I'm not a big fan of him as a closer, but it is what it is. He's a closer right now. He's got 5 saves in the month of August. Actually, from July 28th to August 27th, he's got 5 saves. And 2 blown saves, by the way, because he's not great. Plus, his ERA is almost 4, and it's not going to hurt you at this point of the season having a bad ERA. It's really saves is what you're looking for. So, yes, I would take a guy with a horrible ERA to get saves at this point, because saves are probably going to help me move up in the standings, and that's the whole point of the matter. Kyle Finnegan, Washington Nationals. He has pitched 12 innings this month, and he has 6 saves. 1 blown save. His ERA is under 1. This is definitely a better target than the other guy, Clifford or Floro, by the way. Finnegan's a better target. Also, I don't know what's going on in Yankeeville, but I could tell they've won. See, this is a team that gets a ton of save opportunities, right? Because they're winning all their games. Aroldis Chapman is obviously their number 1 closer. He has not been doing that great this year. He is not the reliable Aroldis Chapman that we know of. And now you're seeing guys like Wandy Peralta get saves in New York. Wandy Peralta, okay, if you've been around for any period of time, then you remember this name. There's no joke around about this guy. He's been around forever. He's getting it done, though. When he gets opportunity, he's getting saves. I don't think they're going to I mean, how often are they going to keep throwing Aroldis Chapman in there if he can't get it done? Or maybe he's going to get tired. Maybe they want to give him rest. We're heading into a pretty significant part of the season, but the Yankees are fighting they're fighting to get in the playoffs, really, but they're definitely above. The Yankees they have the wild card spot right now. Then you have the Tampa Bay Rays. They're 4 games ahead of the Yankees. The Yankees could still do that if they continue to win, if Tampa would ever lose. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you have a team like this that they need to win. They need the wins. It's not like they're the White Sox, who are guaranteed to make the playoffs pretty much no matter what they do. They have the opportunity to rest players or give them at least, maybe spread out some starts and stuff, or just whatever, save their health of their players till the playoffs. Aroldis Chapman's not getting it done. Wandy Peralta is getting it done. So, no, I do not think that he's going to get the majority of the saves going forward, but I do think that the Yankees are going to distribute some saves here and there if you need them. Grab a Yankee reliever. I don't know. I know they've had like 9 relievers get a save in the past month or two. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. It's raining here, but there's a freaking wasp nest outside that I have to attend to. That will be later after the sun goes down. But these guys are so scary. And I know that they've come back to this old nest that they had that was just not even being used. I figured that the whole thing was over. The for rent sign was out. Nobody was coming around to this little nest that's way up, like under the drain, the drain across the roof right there. It's like under that, and it's just like tucked in a corner. And I thought about destroying that thing, but I thought nobody's ever going to come live in that thing again. Yesterday, I see like 5 wasps just kicking it right there, out just right there at the nest. And I thought, oh my God, like I did not get rid of that freaking thing. And now that they've moved in, and once they moved in, now what? I'm so not in. I do not like this, but I've watched a lot of videos, and I'm going to do the best I can. It says this thing says it sprays 20 feet. I'm not sure if the drain is 20 feet up, but it's close, right? Because like I'm pretty sure it's close to 20 feet. So I'm going to put the ladder out there. I'm going to get up on the ladder, but see, that's scary too, because then what if they start to fly out of that thing? I know you have to wait till the nighttime when they're all inside, but they don't go to sleep at night. They just stay in there doing whatever it is they're doing, building the nest, taking care of the babies. But I know that you can't do it in the daytime, so I'm aware of this. But at nighttime, if I go there, and like you have to really be good, you have to spray and you have to hit it really quickly. If you start hitting it, then I don't think they could fly out of there and do any stinging. But what if I what if I don't hit the bullseye the first time, and I just let them know that I'm right there, and then they all come flying out and they sting me? I don't know, but that's my goal for the day. Figure out how to get rid of the wasps before they create a big problem and wreak havoc on my life and Lenny's life, because Lenny loves to sit out there. But I always tell him, you need to get away from the wasps. Don't sit by the wasp. And he doesn't listen, but I try to save him. Have a good day, everybody. We'll be here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Me and the Leonard talking baseball. See you later.